toxic achievement. You've created this kind of like house of cards where success has dictated the energy that you have. But the problem is that you reach down and you keep trying to grab that old energy, but it's
Uh,
all fueled with bullshit and toxic, and you can't kick it into gear anymore.
yep.
And then you look around and then your life's in shambles. Your kids don't recognize you because what we say as men, this is my favorite thing. I'm doing this for you.
Oh,
No, no, no. You're doing it for yourself. The moment that you admit that, then you're good.
Men of greatness, rise and stand tall. Your
what is up? Welcome to Unlocking Greatness. The guest thing is few and far between. I've been spending a lot of time solo. I've been having fun doing that. I've also previewed the fact that I'm getting ready to do probably an 8 or 10 episode series with my wife. Can't wait to do that. So you guys are in for a treat. She's way smarter than me, and she'll probably slay you all. So just be ready for that. But for now, I am with a newfound friend, Austin Linney. Austin came by way of X, formerly known as Twitter. I feel like that would be like dead naming. So we interacted through another guy specifically, and we got on a Twitter Live, X Live. Gosh, even see, I still do it. And then I was just recently recorded for his podcast. He's back for mine. We have a lot of the same crossover in terms of the people that we serve, the types of businesses that we serve, the kind of business that we've built, actually. Anyway, so we're going to have a lot of fun talking about a whole lot of nothing or a whole lot of everything. I guess it's up to the Lord to see what happens. So what's up, dude? Thank you for being here.
Thank you, man. You're a brave man putting 8 recorded episodes of you and your wife on the air.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, yeah.
Want to know what's so funny is I think, okay, she's been on, I think I've recorded about 280 episodes or something like that. And so she was on an early episode. She came back for episode 100, her and one of my best buddies. And then a couple of years ago, I had her on an episode. And we were talking about marriage and some of the struggles and stuff like that. And dude, it was just in the middle of like the chaos of the hate-filled feminist movement, which I guess probably has always been, but it's probably 2022 or something. I got a lot of DMs. Your wife looks like she's in distress. How dare you hold her in that way, lording over her, requiring her to submit to you, like it was crazy, dude. And I was showing my wife and she was getting so pissed off. She's like, I'm going to respond to them. I'm like, no, just chill out. You're going to be okay. Anyway, so when I came back around this time and I'm like, hey babe, I'm like, let's do some episodes together. She's like, are you sure? And I was like, yeah, we'll be good. We'll be good. So we'll see what happens.
What's interesting, right, is that when you record episodes and you share your thoughts, right? What happens is sometimes you're like, everything is a great opportunity for content, right? Like I even recorded some stuff that like, I was like, when you start recording, like, you're I had a conversation with my friend during when all the big race stuff was going on. We had
Mm.
a long conversation about that. Was very hard first 45 minutes, and it kind of like cleaned up. It was like great towards the back. Um, but what's interesting, right? And what I've always viewed is like everything that is said typically is said from somebody's trauma or their childhood, right? And so when you know that, right? Like a perfect example is when I create content, I always speak to my 17-year-old self. And
Mm.
so this guy, he's joyful, he's peaceful, but like that guy was lost. That guy was broken in the middle of my parents' divorce, drug addiction, all these things. And so people always message me when they see a video and they're like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm great. I'm awesome." I know, but you felt really angry. I'm like, well, I was angry for him, like trying to get him to hear the message, right? And because I'm talking to him, um, um, I don't feel like I get nervous about like how many people are watching, and like I'm just saying what would that guy want to hear? Because he needs to hear it, right? And that is one of the things, the tricks or whatever you want to say, that has helped me in my writing, has helped me in my content. And then also the thing of saying, like, if one person, gets changed from this, then we're good, right? Like, what's the saying? I can't control what you hear. I can only control what I say. But then I add on to it saying, I also can't control when you hear it.
It's good, man. Okay, so that's an interesting thing there. So tell me about your 17-year-old self.
So what's interesting about me is people always ask me all the time. I think that I was born in the wrong.
Your
I
17-year-old
think I was,
self is calling right now.
yeah, with the alarms for this podcast. So I don't think that I was born in the right timeline. And what I mean by that is, if you study now where we're at, and all my friends' kids who are entrepreneurs, there's so many opportunities for entrepreneurship school, for certain academies that tailor kids towards learning about business. you know and for me, I had a clinical photographic memory in school, but I hated school. Like, I didn't I, like, especially like freshman year on, college, dropped out 3 times, like, really didn't like it. Was trying, my dad was a doctor, was like trying to do this thing, but like entrepreneurship wasn't cool, and now it's cool. So my dad said, what would you do? He actually asked me like a month ago, what would you do with a kid like you? I said I would put him in Acton Academy, I would put him in a homeschool, I would give him a business to run. I just was so out of alignment with what I wanted, but yet everybody told me, sit down, be quiet, stop making so much noise, be quiet. Like, be quiet, be quiet, be quiet. And then, my parents, who never fight ever, basically said that you're going to military school or you're going to Beaumont, Texas. And I said, well, I don't know where Beaumont is, but it sounds better than military school. I'm in. So I moved with my mom. 2 months happened. 2 months in, they're getting a divorce. Right? You're never fighting. Okay, so then I equate my parents being divorced to me being the problem. They never corrected that. 25, 30 years later, they finally corrected it. 25 years later. My dad actually apologized for it 3 weeks ago, finally. Then that guy's looking for anybody that will be his family because he doesn't have any. He doesn't trust them. And then so he turns to meth and drugs and all this is. And I didn't speak to my father basically for almost 20 years. And we just now, like literally 3 weeks ago, had the conversation that I've needed to have since I was 17. And I'm 42, almost going to be 43. And come to find out, everything that I knew to be true was. And so that young boy was, lost looking for anybody. But what's interesting about the work I've been doing the last 6 months to 8 months, that boy was abandoned at 4 years old. So it wasn't, I always related back to 17. But I'm going to share something that's probably going to hurt some parents out there, because I said this to my father almost 6 months ago, and I mean it. Okay. There was, there was love, but there wasn't love in our house.
Mm.
And when you are somebody who is very driven, very self-starting, very emotional intelligent, even at a young age, sometimes a lot of parents think, oh, you're fine. He's good. And I think that's what happened with me, because the attention was put on my brother. It's come to realize, as I'm unearthing these stuff, like, there's this massive like need for like community, family, What I also haven't told anybody is I also for the last 3 years haven't spoke to my mother.
Mm.
That something happened there. But last Friday, when I was sitting in a Christian men's group, I felt called to call her, and I called my grandmother first. And my grandmother said, I said, I think I'm going to call my mom. She says, well, mom told me 4 days ago that you were going to call her this week. And I was like,
Wow.
we have not shared a text, a call, nothing, no message in 3 years. So I said, well, I got to call her now. And so we talked, and it's absolutely amazing. My dad has not spoken to my brother basically in 2 years. Because of our conversation, my brother flew in to spend time with my dad last weekend. Like the whole family's just, it's just so amazing.
Wow. So, probably a ton of questions, but like one of them is, so what do you attribute all of this reconnection to and re-engagement now?
I think that I started a therapy called IFS therapy. Okay. It's basically internal family systems therapy. It's parts work. There's a book called No Bad Parts. And I had this moment, you know, 3 months ago that basically I was at war with every aspect of who I was, right? I've been sober almost 7 years. And when you get sober, it's a violent act. This is not a peaceful thing. You're shedding and breaking down pieces of yourself and identities of who you believe to be what you do, right? And I ran from every aspect of who that person was. And it wasn't until I realized those aspects of who I was saved me. And so I showed them love. I thanked them. I stopped being at war with them. And the moment that I did that, like all the anger just went away. And then that coincides with my step back into, after basically not existent, 25 years of my faith. So it's the community of men that I've been going to twice a week, along with this therapy, along with being ripped humanly apart in business. So it's this for the last 7 years. So it's this kind of convergence of like all these things, and basically the premise of the, if you want to put a button on the marketing theme, is it was time to step from being a prince to a king.
Hmm. Okay, expand on that.
So this thing came up from 5 different people in the span of a year and a half, people that I respect. That like it's time for Austin to graduate all this anger and this thing and step into this sovereign energy of like not chasing, not fixing, kind of being a center of a storm, what I call the palm tree. So being a palm tree in a storm. And so one of the things that helped me rekindle the relationship 3.5 years ago with my father was I was on a podcast, and the guy was the men's coach. He said most men never graduate their relationship with their dad. Like they're still the 17-year-old kid that's talking to him. And the moment that I stepped into my full confidence of what I needed and what I did, without excuses, without understanding of needing to explain myself, and understanding that the more truth I seek, see, here's the problem. This is what I realized about my mother. I needed her to apologize because I thought she was in the wrong, and I still believe that. But sometimes the child needs to be the bigger person. And that's kind of the thing, is like no conversations need to be left unsaid. And I will deal with the consequences of that conversation, because the reason I didn't have those conversations is if I have them, then they'll leave me. If I tell the truth, they'll abandon me. But I was willing to be okay with those consequences if I could speak from my center of what I needed and what I was going to accept in this world. And it's amazing when you do that, all the things that don't align with that anymore just fall away from your life.
Yeah, one of the things I found, and we've talked a little bit in the past, but like we have a lot of parallels in life. And one of the things for me on my journey was, so my dad left when I was 6. I didn't speak to my dad from 22 to 31, just about 10 years. And I did have to go through a season of like, I needed to be forgiven by God. I needed to recognize what forgiveness was. I went through a series of 3 years of forgiving my dad in various stages. But I think that part of the thing for me that I had to, back to the forgiving myself, like I had to understand that I was just as screwed up as my dad was. And I think that that's something that's so hard when we are on the receiving end of hurt, especially as John Eldridge talks about this a lot in Wild at Heart, and really even more so in Fathered by God. But I feel like when you said, like, the parent-child relationship, we're as children, and even as we grow up, I mean, I'm 47, it's like, even as children, we're like, but we expect more out of our parents. We expect them to act at, did my audio just go out? Oh, no. When we fall short of that, or when they fall short of that, like, we just come unglued. And once I started to recognize that I fell short of that, that was what helped me really start to be able to truly forgive my dad, to truly see him for who he was, to truly allow him the grace necessary to continue to grow and to learn. And so, do you feel that similarly? Like there was that tension that you were facing?
Well, I'm going to share two like chilling things to me. So my dad's we're having this conversation. He goes, you know what? He goes, you might never, ever forgive me. And I'm okay with that. At least I've apologized for my part. I said, the moment that you walk through that door and you're willing to have this conversation, I already forgave you. I said, you need to forgive yourself. I said, he goes, yeah, but I could have saved you from cocaine addiction, meth addiction, all these years of struggle. I said, yeah, but look at all the people I've helped. I said, I'm good. Now here's where it gets chilling. Mom's not so. Mom gets me a little bit more. She said at the end of our call, she said that at least she knows that if something happens to her and she dies, she will have at least spoken to her son one more time. That statement is haunting me. Like, that I let this much time pass because she wronged me or she didn't handle. Here's the thing. I've done enough work on myself to know that she was parenting me as the 20-year-old, that this worked last time, but I'm not him anymore. And if I would have recognized that earlier, it was actually a friend that was like, and I already know all this stuff. He was like, what happened in your mom's childhood? Why is she doing this? And it was like, I don't know if I was just ready to hear it in that moment, but I was like, it changed just, but actually it was funny enough. It was actually a year and a half ago that started softening my heart. My mom is a very good singer, like, but she never performed. She sounds like Reba McEntire, like literally. Why Don't a Judge? Sounds like that. I heard two of those songs, and that was like I'm stubborn, so it's gonna take a while. But like that was kind of like that, like planted the seed, right? And so it's weird, right? People don't understand this. Now I'm like almost obsessed with like radical candor. like but here's what's crazy. I can do this all day with friends and my clients. It's the people closest to me that I'm scared that if I say something wrong, they're gonna leave me, right? The abandonment one, right? But what's interesting, right? And I'll share what I heard in the men's group that blew me away. He stood up and he said, every time that I force something or dreamed of something or made something happen that I wanted, that I longed for me, everybody closest to me has suffered. He said, the moment that I've received what God has given me is the moment that everybody around me has won.
Hmm.
And he said that a month ago, and it stuck with me because it makes so much sense to how I lived the better part of my life. I'm going to be successful no matter what. Everybody around me is going to see how successful I am so I can prove to you that I dropped out of 3 colleges and I didn't do it without my parents. And yeah, I was a fucking drunk, but look at me, look at what I created. And like I'm just like, what are you trying to prove? Like, what
Yeah.
is going on? Like, and what's crazy is the moment that I've led with my heart completely and fully, the right clients show up, the right friends show up, the right connections show up. I'm healthiest, I'm happiest I've ever been. I have more peace than I've ever been. It's just a wild thing that we
Well,
do to ourselves.
and I think back to what you said there, there is this toxicity. There's so much toxicity in society in so many ways, but there is this toxicity in revenge success that I used to believe and I used to participate in because I was like, F them, I'll show them. They told me I couldn't do it. This person left me. This person screwed me over. F them. And then I started to unpack what that was doing to my own heart first. And what I realized was it was creating such a deep sense of anger and hatred, not even for the people, just generally speaking, and frustration. And I was like, why would I ever, now, especially 19 years of being a Christian, why would I ever want to finally get to a mountaintop that I have been pursuing and look back down at the bottom and be like, see, I told you? Like, that just does not seem like a place to celebrate or to feel joy in. And as I have watched so many other men specifically, because this is far more a guy's thing than it is a ladies' thing for some reason, when I watch men operate from a place of revenge success, I just see it in them. They
Oh,
are, they're
it's in the
far more,
writing. It's in the writing.
dude.
It's in the podcast. You can feel it. Like it's just like, dude, like,
Well,
ugh.
it's like, it's literal, like faces of anger, faces of frustration, a lack of satisfaction, right? Like when you are, so I'll tell a really quick story. Is a guy that I was super close to. His dad just burned him really bad. Like he's super hard worker. He was going to be taking over his dad's business. He earned it and more. And his dad was just like, throw the lure out there. He'd get close, then he'd pull it back a little more, pull it back a little bit more. And so finally he went to his dad one day and he's like, look, I need to go out and do this on my own. Like and his dad looked him in the face and said, you'll never be successful without me. And he would go on to start achieving some success. But I started telling him, I'm like, dude, you need to be really careful because in this attempt to prove your dad's statement wrong, you are going to turn into your dad. And fast forward 5 years, probably, he's worse. He's like, we don't even speak anymore, partly because of that. But he has become a worse version of the father that he despised of so much. And in the process, he destroyed his family at times. He destroyed friendships at times. He would ruin anybody that would even for a second challenge what he was doing, who he was, because everything then just became this need to prove everybody wrong. Like, how dare you all the time? I mean, it was just a warpath. And now all the way till today, the business that he was so successful in building, that he grew out of his father, that he proved his dad, it's crumbling and it's almost non-existent. And so the very thing that he wanted and was leveraging to prove his dad wrong with is now gone too. in addition to the relationships, in addition to his character and his integrity. And so it's just like, I try to tell guys this all the time. And I hear a lot of this is David Goggins, 101. And I get it. Like, there's a lot to admire about Goggins, but that's one of the things that I cannot stand is he preaches this idea of F everybody, I will show them. And when impressionable individuals catch that and they're like, oh, I was wrong too, screw them, it starts to perpetuate this problem that we see in society. And I think it is creating a lot of hate-filled men that are going to achieve some level of success, completely dissatisfied with it, and they're going to leave a trail of destruction in the process.
This is actually one of the specialties that I coach on, which is toxic achievement, right?
Oh, that's good.
You've created this kind of house of cards where success has dictated the energy that you have. But the problem is that you reach down and you keep trying to grab that old energy, but it's all fueled with bullshit and BS and toxic, and you can't kick it into gear anymore. And then you look around and then your life's in shambles. Your kids don't recognize you. Your life, because what we say as men, this is my favorite thing. I'm doing this for you. No. You're doing it for yourself. The moment that you admit that, then you're good. My favorite thing to say to dads is your son is not sitting at the front door when you walk in the door going, how's the bank account today, Dad?
Right.
Because I'm telling you right now, you want to talk about if you're a father and you're in public, go try to listen to Luke Combs' song, Front Porch Famous. Go listen to it. Try. You won't be able to last. He says, I don't care about who I am on stage. All I care about is being famous at my front door. We crave success. I'm on this new kick. I always get on these kicks, and I think that we've taken words and we've ruined words in society for certain things. Successful, imposter syndrome.
Oh,
Dude, hear me. Here's my new thing. You ready for this? Isn't the core understanding and quality of imposter syndrome is doing something you've never done before in the chase of growth, right? That's basically what it is. So isn't imposter syndrome only growth? But yet that word ruins so many people's dreams.
I just want to throw something in there too, because words matter so much to me. If you look up the definition of imposter, it is to be done in deception, with deceit. That's the other thing that frustrates me so bad is like you said, it's this pursuit of growth. So it's truly just I just haven't done it yet. I'm stepping into this with faith, with whatever, a little bit of an experience, all that stuff. But when people attach themselves to this stupid effing term, I hate the term imposter syndrome. I actually don't believe it's real. And I go as far as to say I've been in rooms before when I've talked about this, 100 people in the room or whatever. And I'm like, raise your hand if you have felt imposter syndrome. And 90% of the room goes up, right? And then I say, keep your hand up if you are stepping into the environment you are in deceitfully in order to try and deceive somebody else or with ill intent. Everybody's hands go down. I said, then you're not an imposter. And it's just no, that people say. I'm like, oh my God. So anyway, I rant on this shit because I hate how we attach.
Because I want to be successful. It's yeah, okay. So I've interviewed 1,000 people. I've been on 300 podcasts. I've had hundreds and hundreds of clients, thousands of clients. I've asked every single person the same question, and not one single person has said yes. Are you successful? No. Okay. So then what are we trying to pursue? What are we after here? If nobody has said yes, I'm talking, I've had millions of conversations, then what are we after? We're not after anything. You're after filling a bucket of your own self, shame and I'm not this and this person does this. And we're doing all this to a black hole of nothing. And so the question I sat with a pastor yesterday. He's an interesting pastor. He's a creative director for the arts of Austin. I met him at a men's group. He used to be a big deal on stage. Now he does this. And we were talking about speaking on stage, being in front of people, the intoxicatingness of like being on a podcast, being on stage. But what I realized through that conversation and what him and I were talking about was that this conversation right here, the one person that I meet today that I help, this one thing over there is more impactful than being up on that stage. And so finding your servant's heart within every little moment that you exist in your world creates an impact for that person to go create somebody else. So really at scale, affecting one person during your day is actually more scalable than having a video go viral,
Yeah.
right?
But it doesn't look good, right? And that's, again, that's back to what so many people are really chasing. They're chasing the optics of overcoming the past, overcoming the I didn't get picked for the team, overcoming somebody threw sand in my face, overcoming I get rejected by the girl on the playground, I got rejected by my dad leaving, like real things too. But it's like, I've overcome. Now look at what I have created, right? And it's this massive audience. It's all these followers. I ran about this one on LinkedIn all the time, which is like, as much as I struggle with not getting the engagement I did 5 years ago, and you can chalk that up to a whole bunch of reasons, I have recognized that most of my clients, and I get a decent number of clients that come to me inbound from LinkedIn specifically, most of them never like or comment on one of my posts, but they've seen it all. And I'm like, do I actually really care about building a business and providing for my family, or do I care about creating a bunch of pretend fans that will like and comment on my shit that doesn't even really matter and doesn't pay me $1? And so that's that wrestle I think that people are facing all the time is, do I actually want to achieve? That's why I talk about greatness. So I say greatness is ultimately achieving that which God has called you to. It's walking the path that God has called you to and fulfilling that. Success is such a stupid term too, because all it is the fulfillment or achievement or of an end or a purpose. It has nothing to do with monetary value, though it could. It has nothing to do with size of audience, though it could. But we're so caught up in what everybody else has achieved that that's all we can fixate on. We can't fixate on what we're actually called to individually. So the one-to-one impact sounds great when we talk about it, but nobody really wants that because it doesn't look good.
No, 100%. But what's interesting is that in that moment, one of the things that's changed in my life and I don't know, there's many different reasons why, but but for me to be present in a moment has 100% shifted. And what I realize is that asking somebody, no, really, how are you? Not how are you? No. Really, how are you? Is so impactful. But what's interesting is what I found is the longer that you hang around, the better answer you're going to get. And so be there, be present. But also, one of the number one things that I've done that's changed my life is I allow people to be where they are. I think that most of my life, I wanted to fix everybody that I ran into. But by fixing them, I didn't allow them the change that I received in fixing myself. And so by allowing them to make the internal change when they're ready, when it's their time, and being okay with not having to fix it, allows them to have deep-seated subconscious change, not surface level, Austin fixed it, motivated me to change.
Yep. Yeah. No, that's so good. I mean, it's just along the lines of, motivation is the same thing as when it's external, it's temporal at best. I get super charged up reading a book, listening to a podcast, watching a video, going and watching somebody that I really admire speak. But then I got to go back and hit real shit again, and it's gone. When motivation is internally driven, and I firmly believe, I think you'd probably agree to this, is like, true motivation is internally birthed by God. Like we are given the desires, right? And once we begin to understand what those are, that's what will actually call us and cause us to do crazy things, right? That will cause us to make great impact in one person or a million people's lives. And so again, it's like we're out here trying to chase, like, how can I motivate myself? How do I get inspired? And again, there's some short-term benefit to the external, but people just don't spend enough time truly understanding what motivation they've been given, like what motivation they've been created with, what God has birthed into their heart, that if they will understand, will allow them to go accomplish really big things that they will be truly fulfilled by.
And that's the truth. What is it? Most people know what they're great at, but have trouble articulating what it is that they do or what it is that they want. But by asking the right questions long enough and spending enough time, getting clear um, on what you're doing, where you're going, why you're doing it. Typically, it has nothing to do with business. Like, what's the reason that this thing needs to be? Because people throw out numbers all the time. Well, I'm gonna be worth, I'm gonna do 100 million. I'm gonna do, yeah. Well, okay, great. What? I don't care. Like, what are we actually like? What are we talking about here? And guess what? Maybe you do have something that could be there. But I got a great idea. You ready for it? Like, how about we get to 1 million first? How about we get to 5 million? Because like one of the things that you don't realize is life comes at you quick. Somebody could get sick. Something could happen in your marriage. One of your kids could get sick. Like you could get tired and want to retire. So like nothing's set in stone. The only absolute in life is there are no absolutes. Like write with pencil, but live in your values, live in who you are, and just keep getting better every day.
So good. Okay, so I'm going to assume, probably really rightly, that you wouldn't go back and tell your 17-year-old self anything to change the trajectory of your life, because if you would not have been on that trajectory, you would not be the man you are today. Probably assume that to be correct. So what would you say, though, to that 17-year-old to encourage them, knowing what you know now about the life that you have lived?
Two statements. One, you're better and you're stronger than you think you are. And then the message from this guy is, I got it now.
So good, man. I wish more men specifically, and again, this is just because this is the ecosystem I live in. I know you do too, but it's like, I wish more men would stop trying to change what's already happened and would start focusing forward on what they can do with it. Um,
It's
it was
100% the
probably,
reason it's 100% the reason I coach the way I coach is that forward.
yeah. Well, back, to your point, and like I wrote this in my book. It's like every single thing that I did or was done to me, and especially the negative ones, because we think those are like, man, I wish I could take those away. It's like those, I don't like them. Shoot, some of them I wish I could erase from memory, history, whatever, but I'm actually grateful because every single one of those things helped shape me into the man I am. And like, I'm on a rant right now on social media talking about pornography, strip clubs, scrolling inappropriate content on social media, because I'm starting to see it rear its ugly head again in a lot of the circles I'm in. And people are like, why are you talking about that? And I said, first and foremost, the reason that I talk about those things is because I lived them. I was steeped in porn. I was regularly going to strip clubs. I was endlessly scrolling social media, for half naked chicks. So it wasn't considered porn and I could, kind of like get my way through it. And I recognized the destruction that created in my marriage and in my parenting and my relationships in who I was as a man. And so it's like, if I had not gone through those things, if I had not participated in that, I would not have the fire I do today to help guys avoid it being in it now. And so it's like, I'm grateful. I hate that I did it. And I hate what it did to other people when I did it, but I can use it. And again, I just feel like if men could really see the history of their life in all the ways in which it shaped them and leverage those things, they would be far more effective in whatever they believe God's calling them to.
Wherever you are, who's ever listening to this, no matter where you're at, no matter what's happened to you, no matter what you did, the only person that has the key to get you out is you because you got you there. Period. End of story. God and your friends. And the moment that you realize that and stop blaming the fucking world for all your problems, I can't stand victimhood. It's also my specialty in coaching because I know because I lived it for 20 years, right? I think, and I make this statement and I stand by it wholeheartedly. And one is a symptom of the other. I think victimhood is worse than drug addiction. That's how bad victimhood is. I call it the bunker never touch me mentality. It is almost, if you don't understand it, you cannot speak into it.
That's so good. It's so good because again, it just fast forwards. I mean, like it plays itself out in marriage today. I feel like you guys come to me bitching about their wives, and I will say to them every single time, like, you're the problem. And until you rectify and resolve your part of the problem, whether it's 99% or 1% of your marriage problems, don't come to me bitching about your wife. And on top of that, you're the freaking man. Step up and do something about it. And they're like, no, but you don't understand my situation. You don't. I'm like, I don't give a shit. Like, I do care. I want to have empathy for like your struggles and your lack of communication and you not getting what you want. Like I do. I do. But it's like, be a freaking man about it. And this is where we need to toughen up when we start talking about this stuff. As sensitive and as necessary it is to get into the deep emotion of trauma, which I believe we do need to do, it's like once that becomes your label, your identity, I'm a victim and everything, they'll never say it. But the way that they act, I'm like, dude, I don't want to hear a single freaking thing you say.
I know. It's negative down. I can't. So party of one, no thanks. I can't do it. It's ridiculous. It's weak. It's insanity. It doesn't exist. Okay. Look, there are many people. I heard a story the other day. By the way, I've heard many of these stories. Okay. This is not a man. This is a woman. But that was in $100 million worth of debt with like businesses and real estate. That person is worth $40 million to the day. Like, it doesn't matter, bro. Like like pull it together, grab your boots on, let's get to work, dude. Like I ain't got time for all that stuff. Like whatever, you know, I ask people all the time, where are your stresses? How can we eliminate some of them so we can move forward? And if it's money, then let's address that. If it's health, let's address that. If it's personal, you know what I tell people? The first time I get a client, the number one thing I tell them, when's the last time you took your wife on a date? We're not even talking business until you tell me when the last time you took your wife on a date. Go take her on a date, get her some flowers, then we can go talk about growing your business.
Good. It's good. So good, man. I appreciate, I think sometimes, I'm sure you probably felt this way, though I know you run in some good circles, but I feel like sometimes I look out at society and I'm like, dude, we are just effed. I mean, I believe ultimately Jesus is going to restore all things one day, but I'm like, man, just men are pathetic and we don't have enough strong voices and we need more. But then I talk to you and I'm like, no, we got this. We're just like on the ground, hand-to-hand combat, going to war every single day. And I love the fact that there's a guy like you doing what you're doing, man, because more people need it. Are you doing anything in person in Austin?
No, but I feel like I'm going to. I was doing some before COVID. I'm ready to do some more. We host some events here for private equity, a bunch of stuff. I'm just like in person networking all the time in Austin. Just loving it. Just meeting great men, great business people. We did something last Thursday for a company that I consult with. Went out on the lake with a bunch of people who produce movies. A bunch of them in the Christian space. So yeah, just a lot of fun stuff. Can't have a bad time in Austin.
Yeah, no. I was just there. Yeah, for an event for a couple of days. It was awesome. Okay, cool. Where can people find you?
So you go to austinlinney.com, Linney, and you can message me on any of the social media platforms, Austin Linney.
All right, we'll drop them all in the show notes. I just love how, you know, I scheduled to have that first conversation with Brad. I didn't even know you were going to be there. I'm like, oh, who is this guy? Right. And it turns into just such great alignment of values, vision, beliefs. There's nuance in there, but I love that. So I'm super grateful for you. I'm super grateful for the connection that we've made. I'm sure it's going to continue in a lot of different ways, but man, just thanks for pouring out your heart. Thanks for being so vulnerable and authentic in a time when I just don't see that happening. So I appreciate, man, all that you're doing, and thanks for being here.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
Yep. All right, guys, another episode. Unlocking Greatness in the books. Look at, if you are a Christian man seeking to succeed, and you get to define success, whatever it is you believe that to be, seeking success without destroying your faith or your family in the process, you are for me and I am for you. I just want to continue to support you on that journey, help you to figure out what that means, aligning you with guys like Austin doing the things that he's doing and other men just the same. Check out our Men of Greatness Brotherhood. We're continuing to build that. We've got 50 or so guys in there just engaging around conversations just like this. But above all else, go find Jesus, believe in him, and pursue the greatness that he has for you. Thanks, guys. Talk to you soon.